The Popularity Kid by Charles Bukowski. They're good fellows all in one way or another, but they all seem to find you on the same day at the racetrack, especially when your mood isn't one of the best. The first one, you don't remember his name. He pushes his face real close and starts talking fast and loud, but the meaning of what he says passes right over your head. After a bit, you break away from him somehow, and maybe there's 15 minutes peace. Then a mutual clerk catches your eye, waves you over. He's one big smile, grabs your hand and pumps it. He's asking about somebody you both know, but really it's about nothing at all. Have you seen Mike lately? No, I haven't. Luckily, somebody wants to buy it behind me wants to buy a ticket, and I quickly move away. A race passes, and I'm walking along when another poor soul jumps me. He's all smiles, and he too pumps my hand but doesn't say anything. He just stares, smiling, smiling. He's in the horse business, and I ask him something about horses. And when I get the answer, I say, "Great," then spin on my heel and move off. Just before the last race, I'm approached by two complete strangers. Now I'm going to have to say something ugly. I have absolutely no interest in any of these people and would never approach them myself. Why do they feel a need for me? Is it cordiality, fear, respect, boredom? And it's not only the racetrack, it's wherever I go. Say, in the supermarket, the manager will rush towards me, his arms wide spread. There's this sushi place. When I enter, the owner will greet me and bow low. He does not do this for his other customers. At a Mexican restaurant I frequent, the owner always rushes over, slides into my booth, puts an arm around me, and says, "It's good to see you." At this Chinese place, the waitresses gather around my table, chatter, make jokes, and expound little Oriental philosophies. It also happens to me in gas stations, etc. I never make the first overture. I always try to keep a low profile, but it doesn't seem to help. What is it? I don't find myself interesting. It must be pity. I must look woeful, at death's door. But then, thinking back, all this began when I was about 16 years old. People began trailing me, wanting to be my friends, attaching themselves to me. Granted, many of them were mentally defective, but not all of them. It was back when I first began evading people, hiding from them, finding excuses to discard them as friends, and it's gone on ever since. I'm like a goddamn magnet to the human herd, and I don't like it, and I don't want it, and it won't stop. I'm just going to have to die to get away. And even then, that might not work. The ghouls will come running towards me, arms outstretched, saying, "Hey, Chinosky, we've been waiting for you. We want to drink beer with you and talk. Just talk and drink beer. Now we can hang out with you forever, baby. Forever." Oh, hello there. I didn't see you come in. Welcome to another episode of Bitcoin Talk Show. All my other computers like to make noise. When I use one of my computers, they get upset. But yeah, I've got to stop those computers. But here we are, just another Bitcoin Talk Show. I was reading some Charles Bukowski there for you, the sifting through the madness for the word, the line, the way. Bukowski was talking about people coming up to him in public and how he might be an angry figure, mostly covered with scars on his face from pox and other things that he had as a child and a teenager. But he can't stop people from coming up to him in public. They just love Bukowski everywhere he goes. Maybe it's because he was a drunk. Maybe it's because he was an affable drunk. I don't know. I watched the Stork hearing yesterday. That was a big train wreck, quite a disappointing and sad mess for America. Uh, I don't know if you guys have ever watched or read the transcripts for the House Un-American Activities Committee from the 1950s, when Joseph McCarthy went after the so-called communists everywhere. Most of the testimony was, "Have you now or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?" And yesterday's testimony was no different. They were grilling an FBI man, and they were running him through the gamut. And this is a guy who's been totally clean his whole life, worked for the FBI, clean as can be, fantastic at answering questions. And every question was, "Did you write this email? Did you write this text message?" They didn't have any kind of real investigation going on. So it's a bit of a disappointment for him. And the price of Bitcoin was up 0.15% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 6,262, a high of 6,281, and a low of $6,101. That's $1 for 15,993 Satoshis, still slightly above the 15,000 Satoshi barrier. Did you know the World Crypto Network has an audio podcast where you can check out all of the shows on the World Crypto Network, but as audio podcasts? Check it out on iTunes and Acast. Support the World Crypto Network by subscribing to the World Crypto Network Patreon today, or subscribe to Mad Bitcoin's Patreon and join the community where we're telling stories about Bitcoin. Personal story. Had a great time last night with the Las Vegas Bitcoin meetup, or the Bitcoin Las Vegas meetup. It's good stuff. If there's not a Bitcoin meetup near you, you should start one. Ours is really low key. We just bar or restaurant every week, get together and talk about Bitcoin. Yesterday, you can always support the World Crypto Network with the QR codes on our screen. And yesterday, we reached out to Omkar Godbowl and we said, "Hey, man, I'm super bummed that you have no Bitcoin. Will CoinDesk let you take donations or something?" And it seems like CoinDesk will not let, or he's afraid to say so or to answer the question with a Bitcoin QR code that would go directly to his wallet. It would never touch his employer. And he just laughs. He says, "Ha ha." But I'm dreadfully serious here. I use this guy's charting and analysis on this show. I'm looking for a way to pay him back. And if he would put up a Bitcoin address or a QR code, at least we could change this line that the author holds no cryptocurrency assets at the time of writing. That's just sad. I know CoinDesk probably doesn't pay you in Bitcoin because that would mean that they'd have to have some kind of allegiance to Bitcoin or some kind of belief in it, and we know that no one does. But it's sad that you can't just put up a QR code. So, like I say here, we quote you almost every day. At least put an address up. Bitcoin will do the rest. And I thanked him for his work, but really, it's just sad. So that's how CoinDesk treats people, I guess. Bitcoin price shows green after 6K defense. More analysis from Omkar Godbowl, who has no Bitcoin. Bitcoin's sharp recovery from 2 week lows yesterday raised the odds of a stronger rally towards 6,400. At the time of writing, the leading cryptocurrency is changing hands at $6,245 on Bitfinex. Bitcoin was expected to drop into the 6,000s and lower as the Bears were on the offensive, following an inverted flag breakdown. However, the oversold conditions put a floor under Bitcoin prices at the 2 week low of $6,080, helping it recover to a solid rebound of 6,283. While it might be too early to call it a bullish reversal, the change of fortune has saved the day for the Bitcoin bulls. Moreover, the probability of Bitcoin's price charting a picture perfect inverse head and shoulders bullish reverse pattern would have dropped sharply if Bitcoin had found acceptance below 6,000. Let's go straight to the view. Bitcoin could attack the $6,400 mark, but further gains are ruled out for now as the descending bearish 5-day moving average and 10-day moving average are located at 6,366 and $6,500 respectively. That said, if Bitcoin manages to close above the 10-day moving average, then the doors would open for a retest of Monday's high of 6,820. Bearish scenario. A failure to produce a significant move higher despite the bullish price RSI divergence and the falling wedge breakout would shift in favor to a drop to a recent low of 5,755. The downside move will likely gather pace if Bitcoin fails to hold above $6,080, the previous day's high over the weekend. Sadly, the author holds no cryptocurrency assets at the time of writing. It's just tragic. Watch out, bears. Crypto's only getting started. Coinbase's very expensive CTO. As I'm sure you all remember, Coinbase bought Balaji Servizian from Earn.com, formerly 21.com, 21.co, the company that burned more money and made less products than anyone in Bitcoin. And now he's suddenly bullish on crypto again after almost a year of silence where he attempted to work for the Trump administration, perhaps hoping to be a Food and Drug Administration chairman or something, Balaji, who formerly deleted his entire Twitter account to remove all references and mentions of cryptocurrency for over 2 years, is suddenly back and important in cryptocurrency. You should listen to Balaji now. You should listen to him because he deleted his entire Twitter account. You should listen to him because he tried to be in the Trump administration. But now he works for Coinbase, so that's all forgotten. Forget, forget, forget. Bitcoin's hash rate is rapidly growing despite the price. That does seem to keep happening. It's almost like the miners know something that we don't know. Maybe the miners know that Bitcoin has far greater value than we can currently see. Maybe they know that. Maybe other people don't. Bitcoin is a logarithmic asset. All right. Historical price charts are great for predicting the past. It sounds like a joke, but it isn't. Price charts are maps, and maps give people a nope. Price charts are not maps. Maps actually give you a guide to territory. They don't just give you context. The map is the territory. All right. Currently getting lower. Bitcoin has been in a bubble, and that bubble has burst, just like the dot-com bubble. And just like the dot-com crash, you can buy at the bottom and make a killing going further. Is there another leg to fall? No one knows. And the death of Bitcoin is a MSN headline that they keep coming up with over and over again. Yep, if you look at Bitcoin logarithmically and include numbers from 2012, it's still going up quite nicely. The fight over Mt. Gox's Bitcoin stash. Hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin went missing from the busted exchange. Who gets the leftover currency? Well, for a while, they were only going to repay the Mt. Gox creditors in dollars. So they would receive around $420 per Bitcoin that they owned on Mt. Gox. Now they found so much money at Mt. Gox, they're actually thinking of paying these people back with cryptocurrency. This is great news for people that were holding money in Mt. Gox. They might actually see some resolution if they survive the Japanese bankruptcy process. I don't know how you were supposed to send in those forms, but if you managed it, if you're on board, you might actually see a return of your Bitcoin. With the con that's Bitcoin, there's no there. From realclearmarkets.com. Let's get real stupid. Bitcoin's down. How much lower can it go? Blah, blah, blah. Bitcoin speculators, the madness and delusions of clouds, the tulip bubble, the South Sea bubble, the dot-com bubble. Once again, the dot-coms came back. It was a temporary bubble. Amazon.com has done that. eBay.com has done that. But as he says here, with Bitcoin, that they offer no such hope. Bitcoins are pure speculation, bought by fools with the hope that they can be sold to other fools. And he's telling us a story bubble. Remember the one where Isaac Newton lost all of his money. He doesn't even mention Isaac Newton. Great job. More about the South Sea bubble. It's a mathematical fact that when the price of Bitcoin goes to zero, this zero-sum game will have completed its circle. Every dollar of profit, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this guy doesn't seem to have anything. He's an investor at or he's a professor of economics at Pomona College, and he wrote the called Money Machine: The Surprisingly Simple Power of Value Investing in 2017. I wonder if he wished he'd invested in Bitcoin instead. But yeah, there's no there, and all he does in this article is retell the story of the South Sea bubble without even mentioning Isaac Newton. Let me just double check that. No, yeah, Newton. Finally, I can calculate the motions of the heavenly bodies, but not the madness of people. And yeah, you should really show the chart. It's not the same to talk about the South Sea bubble without showing the chart. Mainstream media claims Bitcoin burns more energy than Ireland or Switzerland or any other small country. Does it? Almost as much electricity as Ireland. The mainstream media is preoccupied with comparing it to countries, and they say that it might be the same as Ireland, blah, blah, blah. At least Bitcoin burns at least one Malta less than Ireland. And again, we've never had a proper comparison with the banks. How much money do they burn? How much gasoline do they burn operating all of those armored cars, all of their ATM machines, all of their bank tellers, all of their bank branches? Without a comparison, what do these numbers really mean? Nothing. Billionaire Stephen Cohen invests in Bitcoin, but not Ripple. Not sure why they had to mention Ripple there. Who cares? Let's see. He's invested in autonomous partners led by early Bitcoin investor Ariana Simpson. Hmm. I could have just bought Bitcoin directly. Oh, they're going to invest in digital assets and blockchain startups. Good luck with that. Yes, money is still the most underrated blockchain application, and it's easier for investors to buy Bitcoin outright. I agree with that. Bitcoin Cash news from BCH News Updates, who probably supported Bitcoin Cash, at least until this tweet. Bitcoin Cash is effectively failed, like every other attack on Bitcoin. Whether you look at how centralized its nodes are, the fraudsters behind it, the rejection by developers, the broken chain, the paid shills, and 1 year later, the total lack of adoption. Dead chain crawling. And I also like this article by Dan Darkpill, who showed the intellectual dishonesty of the Bitcoin cashers and the outright copyright infringement. Well, perhaps not in this case, but it should be a copyright infringement of Bitcoin.com. As you can see here, they've taken Andreas Antonopoulos' book, Mastering Bitcoin, and replaced the word Bitcoin with Bitcoin Cash. This is not how science works. This is embarrassing to you, Bitcoin.com. It's embarrassing to anyone that writes for Bitcoin.com, anyone employed by Bitcoin.com, or anyone that's running Bitcoin.com. You can't just take a science book and change the word Bitcoin to Bitcoin Cash. It's embarrassing. It's like you took a book about a lizard and changed it from lizard to spider. Instead of spider, it now says lizard. Lizard is a collection of concepts and technologies that form the basis of a digital money ecosystem. Units of currency called lizards are used to store and transmit value among participants in the lizard network. Like, it's embarrassing. Like, this is just like, if there's anybody out there that still supports Bitcoin Cash after you just take someone's book, and yes, I agree, Andreas has put it under the Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike code, but that doesn't mean that you can just edit it randomly and change the name from Bitcoin to Bitcoin Cash. You could do this with Ethereum. What is Ethereum? Ethereum is a collection of concepts and technologies that form the basis of a digital money. It's ridiculous. Like, whose idea was this? Who said, instead of getting a book written about Bitcoin Cash, which again, Bitcoin Cash, the most important technological innovation of our time, it seems like pretty easy to get someone to write a book about it, right? It's that important. You know, it has a value of $734. You know, it's a big deal. You can't get somebody to write a book about it, so you steal somebody else's book and change the words. If you change the words, it doesn't mean the same thing. Andreas Antonopoulos did not write this book. Uh, Even right here, it says the following is based on Mastering Bitcoin by Andreas Antonopoulos. It's a good thing your search and replace didn't pick that up, because it would have said this book is based on Mastering Bitcoin Cash, a book that doesn't exist, a book that will never exist. This is really pathetic. It's really sad. I'm sad for you. I'm sad for anybody that writes for Bitcoin.com, anybody that works there, anybody that takes money from Roger. You need to quit now. It's over. Anybody who supports Bcash, you're out there and you're saying, oh, I'm a big blocker. I like big blocks. I cannot lie. Do you like this? This kind of open and disgusting plagiarism, this pathetic search and replace. This is not about Bitcoin Cash. This is pathetic. So get out. Just stop. But you don't just happen to listen to me on this show. It's also Bitcoin Talk Show. So we're going to go ahead and open up the phone lines if you'd like to call us on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. We're also joined by Ricardo from Rico Coin Report. How's it going, Ricardo?
It is going excellent. This is a big weekend for France. I think it's a big weekend in Bitcoin. It's far and few summer's end. The days are getting shorter. Tomorrow's Independence Day, or Le Fête de Fédération for France. So there'll be lots of fireworks. Actually, I heard some this morning when I was watching some of the Westworld episode. And it's like, okay, definitely. It's the start of the weekend, the 4th of July in France, the 14th of July. Big, huge day for football. If anybody's watching Croatia and Francais, that's how they say it. I was told how to say it today by a few people. And yeah, it was. I'm excited. I'm super excited for the price. I'm definitely going to be watching sports, Bitcoin, and enjoying the weekend, honestly. I think it's going to be a good weekend. Thanks for asking. How are you doing? How's Vegas?
Doing good. I don't know. Vegas is Vegas. I still survive it. I'm tired of the crappy casinos. I went to a whole bunch of crappy casinos lately. Like, I had friends in town that were touring and they wanted to go. And I was like, no more crappy casinos. So
yeah, go hit up some of the nice ones, even if you just go and peruse around. I remember one of my friends. I didn't spend a lot of money. I'm not a gambler. More of an investor. And if it doesn't pay off in the long run, it's just not worth it for me in the short run. But I don't mind watching and playing or watching my friends play. You grab a drink, if they start winning, the next thing you know, you got a cocktail waitress offering you drinks. That's the cool thing about Vegas, is you can get free drinks as long as you're gambling, you're having a good time, you're maintaining yourself, and you're spending, right? So it's funny. Vegas is a complete mind warp. It is what you make of it, I guess. Even if you just tour the front of the strip and just you can meet a lot of funny people.
Yeah, I just can't take the slot machines anymore. We went to some of these small casinos and I walked around the whole thing looking for that craps and roulette machine, the one that has decent odds. And it's nothing but slots. And they're all the same. Like, they all try to look different. They have a movie branding and they have a TV show branding and they have a very old movie branding and all those kind of things. And I'm just like, these are all the same horrible game with all the same horrible odds, with no skill at all. No, like, you don't control any of it. You just spin. Yeah, I can't take those anymore. Just can't stand.
You're just doing it over and over. It's literally, there's no change. You're just kind of like in a trance, right? You're not even there.
And these people, they they really need to win. Like, they need a win. And they are plugging away at these slot machines, and I don't think a win is coming. I recently had to my friends bought me dinner, but then they made me spend the dinner money on slot machines, and I'm never doing it again. I lost $40 on a slot machine. I pushed spin like a dozen times. It was just terrible. I hated the whole experience. I don't know how these people can do it. Like, I mean, at least, the craps machine is stupid. I'm not saying it's much better, or the roulette machine, but at least it's almost 50%. you have an almost 50-50 chance of getting at least your money back. These slot machines, yeah, they're just like the guy says in the chat. They're getting a dopamine hit. They have all these blinky lights. The part that really drives me nuts, I think this should be illegal. Let's say you're betting 50 cents a hand on the slot machine. It'll have the gall to tell you that you win when you get 10 cents. Winner, 10 cents. You lost 40 cents, right? That's straight up dishonest. That's a dishonest interface. I mean, I'm smart enough to know I'm betting 50 cents a hand and that 10 cents is a loss of 40 cents. But to these other people, they might not know. They might get that little excitement and they might push that button 10 more times. And it's despicable. I can't stand the slot machines.
That's an interesting thought. It kind of led me to this idea of maybe having a gambling anonymous, you know, and you teach them how to, instead of gamble, you teach them how to invest and how to prolong their income, you know, and that way they can control the idea, because gambling is a problem. It's just because you need that dopamine hit, you need that response, you need that excitement, and you're chasing it, right? So I believe that if you can get people to control themselves and to get away from that and to be free from that addiction, you know, it's a tyrannous mindset. It's honestly, it's just your brain's looping, and you don't want to, you want to get out of it, but when you're in it, you can't think of anything else but being in it, you know. So it's an interesting topic to talk about, because gambling is massive and it's become so international, and I know it's huge in Australia. People spend a lot of money on there, in America as well, obviously, anywhere in the world really. But I don't think people talk about it as much because, you know, it's just supposed to be adult entertainment. I keep thinking, when is there going to be a lot of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency gaming slots, you know, at Vegas? That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, right now I think the gambling commission is blocking most of that. But you think by now there'd be like a Doge slot machine, and it would have all the images of the shitty dead altcoins. You'd be like, oh, you got 3 megacoin. You know what that's worth? Nothing. Oh, you got 3 Namecoin. Oh, Namecoin's a contender, big up and comer. A lot of technology there on Namecoin. Nothing. Oh, did you get some OneCoin or some Paycoin? Oh, BitConnect. And the guy comes out and he dances for you and you lose. It's like, just lose money all the time. Lose, lose, lose.
That's what you're doing. You're just losing your money. They're putting the light show on because they don't want you to realize, look at the lights, look at the blinking lights, feed me another 20, you know? And it's not coins anymore. You're literally just putting a card or big bills. They don't take small bills. The whole idea is insane. And you leave and you're broke and you're poor. When I went to Vegas, I had already paid for everything, return trip, everything. I had already done the planning financially, and it was kind of just like a last minute thing. And it was super cheap. It was great, but I knew that I wasn't going to spend money. And the money that I did spend, I had $200 for a week, which you think is frugal because, you know, but I like to spend like $20 and $40 a week just to live or survive on max, you know? So everybody's different with their money, but I think if you can figure out how much you really have, and then once you hit that limit, you can't touch it, that would be kind of cool, you know? I think cryptocurrency is I think Bitcoin could offer that as well.
Well, it's funny they think Bitcoin's like gambling or these crazy altcoins are like gambling, but it's nothing like gambling. Gambling, you have no chance. Everyone's saying, "Oh yeah, you walk into the casino." I walk into the casino, I look around, I don't see the casino struggling for money, right? It's not like you walk into a single mother's house and things are out of place and it's a mess and everything. It's like the casino's very nice. You got to figure they're making money off this. If you want to bet, I mean, I guess you'd want to bet against the shitty casino that looks like it's falling down. But even then, you know they're not going to have good odds. They're not going to be giving that money away because they're so desperate to get a win for themselves, to get a win for the house. But the houses that I travel through, they don't seem to be hurting at all. So you got to wonder which direction those machines are slanting. Like it's not.
That's
yeah. Doesn't
No,
feel
you're
right.
absolutely right. Go ahead, please. I keep going. Well, I was just going to say is something you had said about that. Yeah, the houses are doing great. They're not going anywhere. The people are always going to be coming, but it is gambling. And people look at Bitcoin the exact same way. Something that I just watched Adam's show, and I think it's still going, and I'm not quite sure. I just switched over with Simon Dixon, I believe. is the guest. He's an excellent speaker. He's talking about how people perceive investing and how people perceive betting, you know. And Bitcoin is only looked at it like that because we're so new to it, and a lot of the older generations are like, no, I can't do it. It doesn't make sense. I'm going to give you my money, and you're going to give me what? Some kind of currency that's online, you know. And at the same time, but they're willing to put in billions of dollars, or just millions in bonds, in the banks, and they get bailed out, you know. And you think about what the banks are investing into, it's the same thing. It's just credited money. It's all on an online database system. But Bitcoin allows people to at least invest in their own value and hedge their own value. So let's say you take $100 from your paycheck every week, and you just put it in Bitcoin, you know, when you want to, and you're looking at it, and you do that for 6 months, and yeah, the Bitcoin hasn't, Bitcoin may have gone up or may have gone down, but at least your money's in there. So that way, because the fiat is going down, it's going down. Everybody knows that. Even if you put it into USDT, I don't believe in it. That's one way to get yourself out of fiat, because your fiat is going down and the price of things that you're buying is going up. So even if you can sustain off of $100 less a week or a month, that money will have been put into something like digital gold. All right. So that digital gold, now it's stored, it's got its value. And if it goes up, and it does, and its volatility, you can take when you want, you know. That's the idea, is you can take when you want. So now you have your fiat currency bank, and you've got your smart hedge cryptocurrency Bitcoin wallet that you can take money back from, or you can put more money in when you feel like it. And the money you can take out of, you can put it in something else. You don't have to put it back in I recommend don't put it back in your banks, because your banks are going to have a huge fit depending on the bank. But French banks are pretty good. But if you go into, let's say, a different blockchain, or into, let's say, some actual assets like a house, and you start building something, or you put it into, we put money into our child's savings account. My child he's got a good savings account. Let's just say that. He's got more money than I did when I was his age. So I think people need to realize that you can take the money you have now and create more wealth with Bitcoin. You know, it is the people's, not fiat. I don't want to say that. It's the people's currency. In my opinion.
Well, at least when you buy Bitcoin, you get something. So many of these slot machines, they're cranking that money in there, and they get 5 seconds of lights and puzzles, and then it's over. At least with Bitcoin, you have something. And I think what's important is for people to have a non-zero amount of Bitcoin, just to have some, so that if it does go up, you do get something. And the same thing for the crazy altcoins. If you have a favorite crazy altcoin, you should get a non-zero value of it, and then you should see how it goes. People were talking in the chat earlier. They were saying how they were going to get out of gold. And I would say the same thing with gold as I do with crypto. Don't get totally out. Get 90-10 out. Get 70-30 out. You believed in gold for some reason. You believe in gold less now, but don't completely give it up, because what if gold goes up like crazy, and then you're sitting there, you don't have any exposure to gold. So get some exposure to Bitcoin. Maybe try this mutual fund approach with the altcoins. Take $1,000, put $100 in the top 10. Notice I don't even care what the top 10 are. Maybe your week you get some OneCoin or some Paycoin or something, but still maybe the other 9 are good. Maybe the other 5 are good. Remember what the VCs say: if they invest in 10 companies and 9 of them fail, but one of them is Uber, they win. It doesn't matter. They took 10 risky bets, and that's what you need to do, is take and see how that goes.
Absolutely. It's good to hear you talk about the altcoins a little bit in a positive manner, because they're there. I don't like to talk about them because it is almost like a shot in the dark. You see so many, I have seen so many YouTube channels kind of have to take down videos, delete their videos, do retractions, or just to delete their entire channel because they're talking about these altcoins that are backdoor exiting. Point in case is, it is there. It's a great idea. And going back to investing, Bitcoin is great investments, and you had talked about gold and silver and other assets. That's absolutely a good point. Now that you have power into cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, you can spread that. You don't, yeah, exactly. You can invest in gold and silver. Now, I haven't invested in any gold or silver, minus the stuff that I own, but like in my house, it's on a very small scale. But I think people can do that and feel a little bit more comfortable once you have Bitcoin, because you start to see it grow and go. And when you have your portfolio, even if no matter how small it is, that's still a portfolio. You need to value that, and you need to realize that everybody starts somewhere, you know, and we're all coming in differently. And so now I've thought the idea of getting gold and silver, and it's become more attractive and less scary, where before I wouldn't touch those. I wouldn't touch stocks. I literally wouldn't touch anything that I wasn't in doing myself, because I want to see the money go into it and I want to see it grow. I don't want to give it to somebody else. Okay, but that's my opinion. I think people really realize that the money that you're making, it is your time. So when you go to a job and you make money, that's your time being paid for, and you need to take that time and invest it in a smart way, even if that means just living a more frugal life. And I think Bitcoin has done that for a large audience. There's quite a few channels I've been watching recently that have been touring, and people in the space as the time has gone. Andres and Antonopoulos is a great example. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to being frugal, about buying only what you need, about consuming less, and more so just being more aware of how much your time is worth. Your time sitting in front of the computer and researching is probably going to be better than in front of some application getting thumbs up and searching your ex-girlfriend or something, you know. So maybe what you can do now is starting to realize that you can take your time and invest it in online assets, in gold and silver, and now you can be a free agent in a massive market. Forget fiat. You're going to get fiat. You're going to get it. You're going to get taxed on it. But what can you do with your fiat to make it worth more before it gets big? And back to what one more thing before I finish about Dixon Simon. He had said about when people invest into fiat, it's you're investing in the thing that's going down. Oh, I lost it. But anyways, yeah, just be aware that you can get out there. You know, don't be scared and tell people about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I bought some silver once 4 years ago at Pork Fest. I think I spent about $40 on it. I think it's worth about $20 now, and I don't know where it is. I put it on a shelf somewhere, and then I boxed everything up, and I moved twice, and it's in a box somewhere. My whopping $40 of silver. Oh, I'm holding on to that. But yeah, no, it's totally pathetic. To imagine silver and try to compare it with something like Bitcoin, it falls so short. You get this little piece of metal. You can't really break it up into multiple parts. You can't really use it for payments. You can't send it anywhere. It doesn't fit in an envelope. You can't send it through email. You can't send it through instant message. It's just it's this worthless piece of metal. And you know, fortunately, I only bought like $40 worth. I'm not really out on a limb here, but I've seen pictures of like Max Kaiser and the other heavyweights who used to be big into silver and big into gold. And he's got like a bar and it's right there on his desk. And he's like, yeah, this is a paperweight now. It used to be an investment. Now it's a stupid paperweight. Compared to Bitcoin, it's just so pathetic. And, you know, Max Kaiser probably got into Bitcoin $1 or whatever. He's got, you know, 1,500 Bitcoin for that piece of silver. And yet he held that stupid piece of silver. So it's pretty funny. Let's see. They say, can you buy things at Porkfest? Yeah, they have some of those little things. They have the breakable silver and gold. It comes already preset and pre-broken. You can like snap it off. But again, it's still pathetic and worthless currency compared to Bitcoin. It just
Well,
has nothing. So yeah.
when
So,
currency first was created, I think back in Roman times, there were coins, and people were chipping away at the coin to take its worth, because the weight of the metal was actually worth more than the value of the coin. So people were taking parts of it, and you see the old coins, they've got like these edges all around it. Looks like Bart Simpson around the ends, and it just reminds me of like how we're in the system we've reached this point with Bitcoin because of that, because people are like, okay, well, they're figuring out that what they're moving around, this metal is actually worth more than what they're exchanging it for. Okay, we got to figure something out. We got to change this. We got to make it different. We got to, maybe what's it called? Put some stipulation and inflation into it. But I think
those
you're absolutely right.
those edges are actually a security feature. What they used to do before that is everybody would bite the coin and they'd take a little bit of silver with them and you'd ball that up as your extra silver. So the coins you were trading were actually decreasing in value as they were circulated because everybody was taking a taste of them. And then those little ridged edges, those stop people from taking a taste because you wouldn't accept a coin had a bite out of it or had a chip out of it because it's clear that there's less silver there than there used to be. So it's really a terrible medium of exchange using gold or silver or wooden beads or anything. Really anything other than Bitcoin seems like a completely backwards form of exchange. I'm going to trade you this piece of cotton for that hamburger. That's a terrible exchange. A hamburger is much more difficult to make than a piece of cotton. So
that's a really good point. Something that came up yesterday in the talk with Jose was that the idea of coining everything, and that's ludicrous. But at the same time, I think I'm not going to be around when that happens. Maybe my son's son will be, but I think there's going to be a point where things are going to get to a state of if it becomes first case use, and we're talking about the fringes. I mean, we're looking from the inside outside in, so we don't know what could happen. We're just seeing from the outside. But minus the pricing and what it's doing in the markets and the FUD and all the news, you guys have to realize that this is the Internet of Things, of money, and excuse me, the Internet of exchange. You start to think about how much is our hamburger worth. Is it really worth that little, or is that company putting so much into it that it's worth that little? You know what I mean? They're inflating it. They're inflating the price of the currency. So now the hamburger's only worth $1 on the dollar menu. Most of it's probably just garbage in there, so you're not really eating a hamburger. But point in case is, what is things worth? What are your services, your time? Then you can create your own wages.
We're checking out with what's going on in the chat. This guy keeps talking about nipples and nipple clamps. Must be some new coin where you can clamp down on people's nipples. I don't know about that. Sounds dangerous. They're also talking about ways to earn more USD. Ways to earn more USD. Things like opening a yogurt land or a grow op. Somebody said they're investing in seeds. But it seems like clones would be a much better buy. Making clones, that's a free business idea right there. He says maybe he'll get a yogurt stand on the mall. That seems like a rough investment. Malls are not doing well. But they're also saying maybe he'll start a pizza shop on the mall. He could sell slices. I don't know. Anything you can buy a big thing of and split up into smaller pieces seems like a good idea. We'd like to thank the 100 live viewers. It means everybody's giving us a thumbs up and a share. We're getting out there to the other YouTubers. They might not have heard of Bitcoin yet, but it might be a good time to call in. Go ahead and call us on Skype at World Crypto Network. It's totally free. You download the Skype program, you add World Crypto Network, and then you call us. That's all you need. A microphone, headphones, quiet room, the ability to turn down your speaker. It could be you calling us now, or else maybe I'll talk about politics some more.
Well,
That'll
it
rile
is
you
Friday.
up.
No, go ahead, please.
13th. We got the president traveling to Russia to have a private meeting with Mr. Putin. No note takers, no advisors, no nothing. Just two heads of state meeting together alone, just like the CEOs at the time. I remember last week, the CEO of IBM had a private meeting with the CEO of Amazon, and they said, let's have a business deal. And they didn't have any notes. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, Thomas and Rico. This is Mustafa calling from Wisconsin.
Wow, Wisconsin. America's dairyland.
Yes. Welcome, Mustafa.
Yeah. Discount on all cheese.
Discount on all cheese. Well, that's cool, man. You can get some cheese shaped like a cow or a cow shaped like cheese, something like that.
Like a Bitcoin, maybe that would be cool.
Yeah, Bitcoin shaped cheese.
From melting.
So what are your thoughts today on
I
Bitcoin?
was just calling. I wanted to talk a little bit about the tokenization of everything. I see. It seems like you guys are kind of against the concept or the possibility of it happening, and I'm just wondering why you guys are against it. I mean, I know you guys were talking about it yesterday or maybe a couple of days ago with one of the callers, and you're talking about how if you had a whole bunch of a token from Toys R Us, for example, that you'd get wrecked, right? But if you only held tokens from places that you frequent, wouldn't it make sense?
I'm not so sure. Most of my argument against the tokenization comes from an argument against absurdity. If we have 1,000 different coins for 1,000 different uses, it just seems like it's going to get absurd, and it seems like it's going to be untradeable. I know they're trying to say that they can master this perfect market and they can make it tradable and they can figure everything out, and it's up to them to prove themselves on that. I just think that it's going to be incredibly absurd. The ability to find out what your value is. Right now, if I have a point 0.1 Bitcoin, I know what that's worth. I know it's like around $620 or around that $627, something like that. You know the value, but if you're holding Amazon coin and you want to buy something in Target coin, the price conversion of Amazon coin to Target coin is not going to be readily apparent or very easy for people to understand. So I think it's going to be very difficult for people to value their wealth and to use their wealth in this tokenized
Yeah,
world, and it might just be so absurd.
I don't think that it's going to be like feasible to go from one token to the next. I think, or what I hope would happen is basically, all these big companies are just going to switch out. Instead of offering gift cards, they're going to offer their own token, and they're going to tell you, instead of paying with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is the currency of the world now, we'll give you a little discount if you pay with our company coin, our Target token or our Walmart token or etc. But if you wanted to switch your Amazon token for something else, Apple token, I guess, or Apple money, then you would have to go through Bitcoin first, is what I think would be the right thing to do, or makes sense to me.
It's certainly possible for these companies to do something like that, but it just seems so incredibly complicated. I could already see the store that'll be the first one to say, "We don't have any stinking tokens, and we'll give you your change in the dollars that you paid in or the Bitcoin you paid in, and we don't want to hold your money. We're not trying to be a bank. We're just a store." I can see a counter to that because people already know that gift cards are a ripoff. They already know that getting your change in gift cards is just as good as giving your money back to the company. And also, if you own $1 to spend at the company, you come back, you have to spend 20 bucks. You know that they're winning again. So I don't know that consumers are that dumb. I think that companies have the option to do this for a long time.
I'm going to disagree with you and say that consumers are that dumb. Yeah, because I deal with a lot of them, and most people will value convenience over what's the word, over having something that's more worth, having more substance or whatever, or more value. Like I do believe that people will value convenience, or they value convenience over value, something that's valuable in itself.
We'll have to see. I think it's certainly possible. I could see Amazon giving you your change back. They'll give you 10% more change if you use Amazon.com coin or whatever. But I definitely think there's going to be, like people are saying in the chat, the main add-on of a cryptocurrency, as opposed to just having a normal rewards card, is that it's easier to trade. And if it's easier to trade, it has its own separate value. And once it has its own separate value, then we're off to the races with this insane stock market of value. And every time you want to buy or sell something, you have to go through this insane stock market of value. And unless that perfect market that they make is truly efficient, and you can trade your Amazon coin for Target coin with 5 other hops, then it shouldn't matter. But I think if you can't trade your Target coin for Amazon coin, and if you're always losing value, I think the consumers are going to figure out this system pretty quick. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. I don't think that it would be made in a way where the consumer would benefit. I think it's going to be made in a way where the corporation benefits, because that's just how it is. They got more money for R&D, so they're going to try to make it benefit the most. But they're going to package it in a way that makes you feel like, oh, this is it's decentralized, and you can trade it and you can make money doing this.
That's always the way. That's always the way they package it. But we'll have to see how it goes.
But hey, I wanted to weigh in on this.
I'm just saying that's what I see in the foreseeable future. That once the Bitcoin or cryptocurrency goes really mainstream around the world, around the developed world, that all these corporations are going to jump on it. Once the whole blockchain fad, I guess, goes out of being popular, then everybody's going to jump on these tokens and say, oh, now we have our own tokens, come and get them. Everybody's going to do something like an ICO equivalent, and it might be the evaluate or the evolution of the stock market. It's just going to be tokens because it's digital right now already, right?
We'll have to see what the existing stock markets and rules and regulations say about that. But we'll just have to see. Ricardo, do you want to add something on this? Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I did actually, and he had kind of answered his question, or answered himself with the comment that I was going to make. You had said at the very end, you just said once it becomes massive adoption, and once it does become massive adoption, I think it's going to be big. But the party hasn't started, okay? And I'm not against it. I'm for it. I'm just for the transition of it, because humans aren't ready for big changes. They can barely take Bitcoin. And first of all, the powers that be, they're already narrating everything you're doing right now. It's inevitable. There's big powers. They've got their laws, they've got their ways, and they own everything. So what I'm saying is that it's not ready. We're not ready for that. The adoption is an incredible idea. It's too much change in one time for people to take, let alone just being able to just use cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin becoming adopted by all banks, all countries, maybe a few that aren't technologically up to date. But point in case is, once this goes, you're right, it's going to be great. And that's going to be the party. That is going to be the altcoin, blockchain party time. It's going to be a good 10, 15 years probably. And then, I don't know. But what I'm saying is that's going to be the internet of things and money. And I do believe we are going to, I'm telling you, but I don't believe in my lifetime. Well, maybe, you never know. But that I'm going to be in a lifetime where everything is got a coin on it, and everything is you can literally pick up anything, and that's worth something. Whether it's a toothpick, whether it's a car, whether it's your car or your house, whatever, and that'll be on the blockchain. We're not there. That party hasn't started. That's a beautiful idea, but people are like back in the day before cars were cars. They weren't ready to have a Mustang. They just weren't ready. They were just ready for the old horse and wagon trolleys. They're not ready for like something like an engine. We're not ready for the engine. We're not ready for that. But I think we will, as humanity, it's inevitable. We will get there. But we're not there yet. And people are scared of Bitcoin. They're fearing it. They think it's like the devil or something. And it's not. But I think that's a good idea, but we're not there.
The mainstream media trying to, steer people away from the truth, in my opinion. And what I'm saying about the whole tokenization of everything, it's definitely going to be post the death of fiat currency. So once everybody realizes that the fiat currency system is a scam and it just doesn't work, even banks will get on board, and every bank will have its own token, and you'll have Chase coin and Bank of America coin and Wells Fargo token or whatever, and then everybody's going to be like making their own currency, because there won't be because it's just it's going to be in the spirit of decentralization. for these corrupt powers to keep moving forward, there's more confusion, right, and more suppression of truth. And I think if it's just sensory overload of, oh, you got a token for this, token for that, token for everything, you don't really need Bitcoin. Just take ours, and it's just as good. And just like everything is going with like Bcash and all this stuff, they try to make it as similar as possible from a marketing point, that people don't know the difference. That normal people that don't know anything about technology, they won't know the difference. So they'll accidentally go to Coinbase and buy Bcash instead of Bitcoin, thinking that they got the cash version of the same thing. It's just I've got the cash version. It's the easier one to use. It's the cheaper one to buy. So that will definitely be taken advantage of, in my opinion.
Yes, I do argue with that. That was my original argument, was that we're not ready for it. I've been scammed. I'm new to the market as of a year, like let's see, November, December. I've been studying it, and I don't invest in things unless I'm wholeheartedly ready for it. And I was finally, after 2015 when I was told about it. But what I was going to say is we're not ready for it. It's you can get scammed out of your entire life savings, your kids' investments, whatever you're investing. So people need to be aware that we're not ready for the coining of everything. You should go out there and get some Satoshis while it's good, while it's cheap, because once it goes mainstream, it is going to be a big party. I got to go because I'm going to put it on mute because it's going to ding in a few seconds, I promise. But Mustafa, yeah, keep going what you're saying. I'm going to go on mute.
Yep. Thanks so much for your call, Mustafa. Give us a call anytime. Always good to talk to you, man.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for taking my call, man. Talk to you later.
All right. And the bell is chiming in Paris, he says. So we're looking for some more calls. If you want to give us a call now on Skype, World Crypto Network. We've got to take one call at a time. We just have the one line. So whoever calls gets to be on the show. And we're checking in with the chat, seeing what's going on. Fiat won't go away, but maybe crypto will make it more honest. That might happen. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where you're calling from? It doesn't seem like... There it is. Now it's working. How's it going, Corey? Oh, it was working for me, but maybe it wasn't working for him. You got to have access to your microphone and headphones, the whole thing. You got to be all set. But you can give us a call right back if you get things working, or if the other person wants to call, you can give us a call. So
we need some people who are Friday the 13th, that are, what's it called?
Superstitious?
Superstitious. There you go. I'm not superstitious. I'm just a little stitious,
Just a little.
I think it's from The Office. It's Michael.
Just a little, yeah.
I'm not superstitious. I'm just a little stitious. The bells didn't go off. I was expecting them to go off. It's 2 minutes past. Somebody didn't turn the clock back. I'm guessing it's going to go off any second. Everything's off here. I'm looking at a lightning storm almost.
Oh, there it is. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up? It's G Packets again. It's calling from NC. What's going on, guys?
Not much. What's on your mind today about Bitcoin?
Just really want to talk about, I guess, the accumulation side of, not only just Bitcoin, but just any cryptocurrency that would, I guess, claim to be something better or similar to Bitcoin. So it seems like right now, most people, they get in the game and they're kind of worried that, they weren't first in, they weren't the guys that were, first on the ground who invested first and had this large amounts of Bitcoin. So it's kind of like really daunting for like a newcomer to come in, because it's like, okay, difference here. I can only afford a couple of these things. So that's why they gravitate towards altcoins. But the other side I was looking at, in terms of accumulation is, okay, let's say we're saying that Bitcoin is going to decentralize everything. But if we're thinking of it from the people who actually own it or have, actual decent amounts of Bitcoin, that seems like it's only going to be a few. It's going to be in the hands of the few again. Like, how do we solve for that problem where it's not a 1% problem anymore?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure that you can. I do think that the people that were early to crypto are going to be billionaires and 10 billionaires and 100 billionaires and whatever happens after that. I don't know what else that you can do about it. Like, certainly you can't take their wealth away. There isn't going to be a new Bitcoin anytime soon. This is the only Bitcoin we have. I think we just have to hope that the new leaders are better than the old leaders. Whatever we didn't like about the corporate overlords before, maybe the new Bitcoin corporate overlords will be better because they're computer geeks or because they believe in different things. Of course, the old axiom goes that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So if they do have absolute power, there will be no stopping them. So we just have to wait and see. But I agree, it's hard for new people to get in. They're getting such a small amount of Bitcoin, even a 0.1 or a 0.01 is a decent amount of money these days. But it's also, what else can you do? You have to get in the one that everyone else is getting into. They all want to believe that their altcoin will be the one, and sometimes it is briefly, and sometimes it goes back down, and sometimes it stays up there. But I think that's why they're speculating in the crazy alts to try to get more Bitcoin, and everyone just wants to get their hands on some Bitcoin. I think it's going to keep happening. What's so hard to believe now is that previously people would probably get a Bitcoin or get a half Bitcoin or something. Now, if you get a 0.1, you might be set with a 0.1, might be a 0.01. We don't know how high this thing could really go up, but we know that right now, almost no one is into this, like 1% of the people. If that went up to 50% of the people, there'd be an incredible demand for a very limited amount of Bitcoin. So.
Right.
So
So
he makes.
that has me a little. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Sorry, go ahead, Ricardo.
Oh, I was just going to say, you make an excellent point. That is something unattractive. Excuse me. That is something unattractive when you buy Bitcoin, is you don't get a lot for it, and that is always a question in the back of a lot of people's minds: is what's going to happen once the paradigm of the power shift switches, when you can make your own money. And Thomas, you're right. You should just invest into something that everything is based around, because everything is trading on Bitcoin. So if you're gonna get into this, you guys, just go easy. Don't recreate the whole wheel, because I did. But yeah, something you can do to kind of bring down that big number is just to invest a small amount. Think about something you spend daily that you could just get rid of, and spending, and just put that aside, and then you could put that into Bitcoin, because it's obviously going to be the future. I think that everybody here speculates that, and whether or not you want to admit it, I think people are leaning more towards it is going that way, but it's going to go that way slowly. So that's going to be interesting when everything changes. I think small investments can get you into big investments over a long period of time, and holding them.
All right, caller, what do you think?
I don't know. I really don't know, because it just scares me to death. Like, let's say the fiat currency system goes down and we do switch over to Bitcoin. Who's to say that Satoshi doesn't come out from the grave and he's some evil, some badass, person that's a torturer or something like that? Or it's not even Satoshi. It's, I guess, some bank that's been buying Bitcoin secretly in large amounts, or the exchanges are now in control. Like, that worries me, and I haven't really been seeing many people talk about that aspect. But yeah, it's just weird.
It's definitely worrying, and it's definitely a possibility. I know that doesn't assuage your fears, but it's more honest that way. When we had the New York agreement, and everyone met in a private room, and all these big companies made the agreement to do SegWit 2x, which was going to double the block size anyway, regardless of what the programmers thought. And these New York guys thought they had it. They had to deal with the big mining companies. They had to deal with the big exchanges. They had to deal with the DCG, the company that invests in every other company. They even own CoinDesk. They even own the CoinDesk conference. They're pretty big guys. And they all agreed in this room that they were going to do this no matter what the programmers said. And what this also meant is that they were going to change the repository. And the place that we get Bitcoin's code would go from this open source science project to a controlled corporate project, where if Brian Armstrong lifts up the phone and says, "We need more transactions," the guy says, "Yes, sir." And he adds more transactions no matter what happens. And what was amazing through this is that Bitcoin survived. There was the user activated soft fork, where the Bitcoin user said, "No, we're switching to SegWit. That's that. We're tired of waiting." And they drew a line in the sand. And after that line, we switched to SegWit. When the SegWit 2x came around, the users forced these companies through their messages, through their tweets, through their emails, and told them that we didn't want this 2x fork, that it simply wasn't necessary. And these companies, they huffed and they puffed, and they went all the way down to the deadline, and then they didn't do anything. They didn't launch the 2x fork. They failed to take over Bitcoin. And now Bitcoiners know what it's like when companies try to take over Bitcoin, or when miners try to make a copy of Bitcoin and steal the name and steal the branding, and steal people's books and change the words with search and replace. They look pathetic. So I would say so far they've failed horribly at trying to take over Bitcoin. That doesn't mean that they've given up or that they're done. There'll be more takeover events in the future. But we can say that we've survived the first one or the first couple. We've done pretty well so far. So,
Yeah, that's an amazing story, by the way. You know, how the I guess it wouldn't be miners in that sense. Would it be, I guess, people who own nodes who protected the network in that sense?
a
Or
lot of it was the nodes were signaling for UASF and the nodes were signaling for no 2x. But it really comes down to the users, the people that use Bitcoin, the people that talk about Bitcoin on Twitter, whether you're a big account or a small account or whatever it is, people stood up and they said they didn't want that thing. And the companies, for once, listened to the people. I think if they could have found a way to win, they would have done it because it was that important to them to get control over the repos. But they couldn't find a way to win, and they had to negotiate a peace. And now we're in this strange situation where we know that the exchanges and the miners collaborated against the users. We know that they don't have the user's best interest in heart, and that they're willing to make short-term, short-minded technical decisions that might outweigh the long-term value and long-term decisions. We know that they're in it for the short term. We know that they're not playing Bitcoin for the long term. And also, we've seen their action as companies like Coinbase, that could have been the biggest Bitcoin supporter in the world, instead is selling 4 random altcoins or whatever with their Bitcoin. And no one knows what those are. And CoinDesk doesn't try to educate people. And even if they did, a paragraph isn't going to tell you the difference between Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. It's very confusing. There's a long history, even with just that single one, let alone the other random altcoins that they've added to their platform. So you have to watch out there. Bitcoin has no friends. Bitcoin's friends are very temporary. They'll stab it in the back for another altcoin, no problem, any day of the week. They'll FUD it till it hits the ground. They'll claim, their bets over it and their dominion, that it must go to this number because of this chart. That's not a friend. Bitcoin has very few friends out there, and yet it survives. It's really the impressive part of this.
So the security mechanism you're describing there was from the users. How can, in the future, right? If that's just the one of the stronger security mechanisms of Bitcoin, we have really good users who actually know what they're doing and can see bullshit and stuff like that. To protect that, if it is users could easily be manipulated. Who's to say that those users can't be put into some deal or whatever? How did that actually even happen? How did those users even come to the conclusion like, hey, this is a bad thing? Like, did they group up together behind the scenes, or was it just like a one-off, like that event that happened with each user that just became an aggregate kind of mind meld type of situation? Like I'm trying to understand, how did that even happen to defend
Sure.
Bitcoin at that level?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and I don't think that we really know like the definitive answer, but we can give you a shot at it. I think what happened is for the 2 years or maybe even 3 years before that, we tried to have a scientific debate. We tried to say on one side, okay, you've got the big blockers, you're going to make the blocks bigger. If you need more transactions, you're going to make the blocks bigger again. You're willing to hard fork, which is an incompatible fork. It wouldn't be compatible with the previous chains. You'd have to upgrade your coins to get on the new network. They were willing to hard fork several times. All of these things, that's basically their scientific argument, that we should just hard fork and double the block size and not change anything. On the other side, you had a more complicated scientific argument that segregated witness could be implemented as a soft fork. So it'd still be compatible with the previous chains. You wouldn't have to upgrade your coins. And that segregated witness made it possible to do the Lightning Network, the Liquid side chain, all of the other side chains and things linked to Bitcoin are now possible because they got rid of transaction malleability. And scientifically, this seemed like a much better idea. And we'd debate it and we'd debate it and we'd go back and forth. And I think people were getting frustrated because the big blockers weren't debating in a scientific manner. It seemed a lot more like they were stalling. Like every day that they could keep going on the old chain, was a day where they could win. And later we learned that Bitmain might have been running this ASIC boost software that allows them to guess the Bitcoin code 30% faster than their competitors. This seemed like cheating. A lot of people, this seemed really wrong, and that they were blocking SegWit. They were blocking this technological upgrade because they needed to mine at a 30% efficiency. And you can imagine they have lots of reasons for that. They probably sold to their investors and said, hey, we're going to be 30% more efficient. This is the best bet in the world. You shouldn't just give us $1 million. You should give us $1 billion. I don't know what it was, and I don't know where they got the money from, but they needed to pay that money back. So I think that intellectual dishonesty pissed off the users, and that the users started to realize that this wasn't about SegWit or big blocks or any of the technological arguments. It was just about stalling. And the longer they stall, the more they win. So one of the users, one of the coders, drew a line in the sand and said, user activated soft fork. I think it was September 1st, something like that. And he said, boom, we're going to do it. Anybody that signals is going to join us, and that we're going to split off and we're going to add SegWit anyway. And if you don't join us, you're going to be on the old network. And this idea spread. People started putting in their Twitter accounts, hashtag UASF. It just started showing up everywhere. People started wearing the hats. People started doing Photoshops and retweeting the Photoshops and putting them on Reddit and all these things. And the people were just like, we've had enough. We've had enough of this disingenuous argument for the big blocks that's really not for the big blocks. And we're going to do this upgrade. And the programmers teamed up with the users, and they won, despite the fact that the companies thought they had all the power. The miners thought they had all the power. It turned out they didn't. That the actual users on Twitter, on Reddit, on all the other platforms, the people who talk about Bitcoin, and not the big people either, the small people, all the normal people, they just had enough. I think they were fed up. And the internet hates intellectual dishonesty, right? Like if you make a mistake, if I say something wrong and then tomorrow I say, okay, I read more, I said the wrong thing, or if I make a mistake, I say Macedonia instead of, Greece or whatever, I say the wrong country name. That's an honest mistake. But if you do this intellectual dishonesty, this big time hardcore intellectual dishonesty, the internet's not going to accept that. And we're going to find out too. Like you're going to fool people, maybe fool people for 2 years, 3 years even. But they're going to get fed up and they're going to get mad the longer that you fooled them. So I think that these guys and their ASIC boost just went too far, and people were like, oh, we've had enough of that. And that was it. And I don't know how we're going to do that again. I think there will be another attack. It'll be similar. It'll be better funded. It'll be better organized. It'll look cleaner. It'll look nicer. It won't be as easy to spot. And we're going to have to come together again to fight that one off. I don't know how we improve for that, how we go for that. I mean, my idea is obviously do YouTube shows, try to earn money in advertisements and things for doing YouTube shows, and try to keep doing this because I think this is a good way to organize the people and to discuss our thoughts and our ideas. And if everybody gets really pissed off about something again, I think we'll be there to lead that. But again, it's going to be harder next time. They're going to do a much better job on the attack.
Man, wow.
Yeah,
That's
well said,
that's some good
Thomas.
stuff. I really appreciate that breakdown.
Yeah, it's well, and
Um,
they're saying I skipped a lot in the chat. Well, tell me what I skipped. Call in next. Glad to talk to you too. But no, from my perspective, and I was there the whole time. That's what I saw, and I tried to interview these people, and I tried to give them a chance to explain it to me. And Roger's interviews out there. People are critical of me because I let Roger have the floor, and I wanted to get his argument. But I think that we've captured a really good version of Roger's argument, and that you could go back through and look at, Peter Todd's argument, Vinny Lingham, Eric Lombroso. I did a whole bunch of interviews that week on Mad Bitcoins because I thought it was so important that, I didn't know if I could stop it, and I didn't think I could stop it. But I thought if I talked about it every day, at the very least, we'd have all these interviews where we talked about it and we tried to stop it from going over the edge. Guy in the chat said something like, the core team didn't want to double the block size. I said before that doubling the block size is like kicking the can down the road. It's a method from politics. It's what we do whenever the budget deficit comes up. We say, oh, well, we don't have the money to pay for it now, and we don't want to cancel all the programs that we have running. So therefore, we're going to kick the can down the road, and we're just going to raise the budget deficit for the next 5 years, and then we'll probably do it again. We can't do that on the blockchain. We can't do that with Bitcoin. Bitcoin, like I've said, is an airplane that's traveling around the world 24/7, 365. It's refueling in the midair. It's being fixed and repaired and upgraded in the midair. So if we add extra weight to the Bitcoin airplane, the airplane gets heavier. It's harder to keep it in the air. We can't just arbitrarily add extra weight. If we need extra weight and everyone agrees and we all come together, then sure, we could double the block size and we could deal with the consequences. But if the programmers are telling us not to add more weight to the airplane, I don't care what the passengers say, right? I'm talking to the programmers, I'm talking to the engineers, the people who build the airplane that keeps us in the sky. Passengers can complain about the drink service, right? Passengers can complain about the food or the seats, right? That's your ballywick. You're not in charge of the engines or the lift or the airplane. And I think we had some of that. We had some of the passengers who said, oh, I run a very big exchange and I run a very big mining company. I'm a very important passenger. Can't you see my monocle and my cigarette holder? I'm very important. And they tried to take over the airplane. And the engineers and the scientists were like, you have no idea how this airplane even flies. You don't understand lift. You don't have the basis of a scientific argument. And they laughed them out of the plane. So yeah, again, these people, they think they run everything, and it turns out in Bitcoin that they don't run anything. I mean, I'll say it's the Army of Darkness line, and it's inappropriate, but I'll say it anyway. You're not running but two things: Jack and shit. And Jack left town. So.
Oh God, yeah. Hey, thanks for having my call. I mean, I could talk for days about the big and small block stuff. I mean, even from a developer standpoint, you want to keep things nice and light. And plus, with these lighter blocks, you have more chances of people actually join a network and not have to have supercomputers to have the entire blockchain. But hey, Thomas, I really appreciate your time here. Same with you, Ricardo. So if you guys want to reach out to me, I'm on Twitter. I'm on at Coin Packets. So if you want to reach out to me there. But hey, I gotta run. But I really appreciate you guys having my call and answering my questions.
Well, thanks so much for the call. And if you want to send your email to Mad Bitcoins by direct message on Twitter, I can add you to the Slack, and we can get you going here on the World Crypto Network. We always need good questions like that. And a lot of people weren't there for the debate. They didn't see this go on for years and years. So if we can help them understand it by recounting at least our version of the history, and again, it's not the definitive one, but that's what I saw happen. And it's always good to get people updated and get them on board with the the history so they can go check it out for themselves.
Definitely.
Great question.
For sure. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much. And
Thank
remember,
you.
you can give us a call now at World Crypto Network, all one word, on Skype. We'll try to keep the phone lines open at least next 10 minutes or so. Guy in the chat asks if I found the SegWit adoption chart. I didn't find it. I looked on coin.dance, but I couldn't find it. It's the chart that says how many nodes have added SegWit. I want to say it's like 40% these days. But I remember when it started out at like 5%, 6%, and they were judging it by that. And they were like, oh, it can never grow. It could never grow to what it needs to be. And I was just like, that's a ridiculous argument. Like, certainly it's not growing at the rate that you'd like. But if one mining farm says, oh, it's time to switch, and they turn it on, we get 20% overnight, it's not impossible. Like, they were acting like it was impossible. So let's see, they've got one here, transactionfee.info. I'll check that out. Let's see, hopefully it's like some crazy nudie site or something. Okay, so this is scoreboard. Still not quite what we're looking for. We're looking for more SegWit transactions. How many nodes have them? Let's see, they're saying Bitcoin visuals. Let me see.
That last caller was excellent. Great question. He did the question about what the powers that may be and be coming into place. They're already trying to hack at Bitcoin. They're already trying to attempt, like Thomas said. Excuse me. Thomas said, it's going to happen eventually. We need to all be aware that when you own some Bitcoin, you're part of the group. You own your own cryptocurrency. So you need to be aware of your keys and your wallets and your updates and exchanges and where you're keeping that information. But of the space, you also need to be aware of, making sure that your transactions are legit. If you're going through very places that maybe you don't feel very good about exchanging your Bitcoin, maybe you shouldn't do that, okay? There are peer-to-peer exchanges, and there are company exchanges that you may be uncomfortable with, so go with that as you will. But yeah, this attack, Bitcoin has become resilient every single time, stronger, and that's why I support it. It's because it's got such a strong backbone. It doesn't have a lot of friends, but it doesn't need a lot of friends because it's going to be the one that stomps them all out, okay? It's the one most talked about. It's the one everybody wants to copy but can't. And they've even tried to copy the name. You've got all these other Bitcoin, quote-unquote, blockchains that are not Bitcoin. There's only one Bitcoin. And that's the one thing about having altcoins that upsets me, is that it could be a scam. You don't know. It could be a scam because it's got the name Bitcoin on it. So we don't know that. But you should go with the one that you trust the most, the one that has the highest asset class, and the one that is exchanged on the most international basis, okay? So they're already trying to take it down, you guys. We're already in a war. That's why we're here. This is the light. This is, this could be the one thing that we have to value. People, each other, peer-to-peer, is worth. Is this not the dollar anymore, not the euro, not the markets that are controlled. None of that. It's inflated. It's been bought out and paid for. Okay, let's get real.
And we do have an update from the chat. They sent us a chart of the percentage of SegWit spending payments. As you can see right here, it starts off pretty small at around 11%, but then it keeps going up. We have a big jump here to 25%, another big jump from 28 to 37%, and right now we're right about 39.86% of payments on the network are using segregated witness. So we're doing great. It's going really well. We need to get the rest of the network, about 60%, to flip over and start using segregated witness. When they do, the transactions are actually cheaper. There's a little bit more space in the block, and it's compatible with Lightning Network and all the other new technologies they're building on top of Bitcoin. So this is great. And you need to see if your exchange, if your wallet is not using SegWit yet, you should tell them to change, or you should change wallets or change exchanges. It's time to move on with this. It's been far too long.
Well
But we
said.
do have the phone lines open. World Crypto Network, all one word. I'll try to keep this going till about 10:30 if there isn't another call. Let's see what else. Price of Bitcoin is hanging in there. Maybe I'll get another window going and I'll show you guys all the donations. We'll do a check of donations check. Not that optimistic for it, but it's always good to check in, see how all those exciting altcoin donations are doing.
Well, I can't stress with people the idea of sponsoring World Crypto Network and donating. I know that you are working your tail off to just pretty much put all this information out, put it together, and keep the show going and the entire network. So if you're a long-time watcher, guys, throw some Satoshis this way. If you don't have Satoshis, you can give Litecoin, you can give Bcash, you can give the Dash, Doge if you really want. We just added Doge. You know, give and make the community a more positive place. And update your wallets, like he said. That's a great point. But use the QR codes. You know, pause it, put your little cell phone up to it, and use the QR codes. That's he puts the QR codes up there, and he creates these beautiful screens for you guys to use. So utilize them. It's the weekend. It's a good time to get in if you don't know, and it's also a good time to give. So don't be scared.
All right, and I think we're going to head towards the doors here. Just a quick recap of recent donations. We had a Bitcoin donation 3 days ago for 0.00078,446. We've had no Ethereum donations. We had no Ethereum Classic donations. We had one Dash donation. Thanks so much to our Dash donation who sent... It's confusing, but it looks like 0.04382697 dash. Thanks so much for your support. We've also got Dogecoin. A couple of Dogecoin donations. Someone sent us 420 Dogecoin, and someone sent us 3.97650,464. So thanks so much to the Dogecoiners. And we had a small Litecoin donation, 0.1888888. Litecoins. Thanks so much for your support. No Vert coin yet, but we'll leave that address up there because it came with the Trezor, so whatever. And thanks so much for everyone supporting us on the Mad Bitcoins Patreon page and the World Crypto Network Patreon page. We'll be back next time. I don't know if I'm going to have enough time to write the Bitcoin group. I keep having this thing where I go to the meetup on Thursday night, and Thursday night's when I'm supposed to write the Bitcoin group. But if I go to the meetup, then I stay out a little late, and then I come back and I don't want to write it. Then if I do this show Friday morning, which I like to do because we try to do this every day to create a routine so that people know it'll be here and they can come back and check on it and it's still there. Then I don't write it in the morning either. And then pretty soon it's afternoon already and it's time to do the show again. And I haven't prepared or written it. So that's what keeps happening with the Bitcoin group. When I do too many shows, it all jams up by Friday. But we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll do another long afternoon Bitcoin talk show, which I like, but I do prefer the Bitcoin group. But then I do like acknowledge it's a better Bitcoin group when I write it and I prepare it and I let the guests get prepared. That's what I like about the show, and that goes away when I don't prepare on time. So I don't know. That's what's happening with the Bitcoin group. But be sure to check out Andy Hoffman's interview with Simon Dixon from earlier this morning. That was very good. I watched the end of that with the chat. We had a good time, and then we started this show right after it ended. Back to back, multiple shows here on the World Crypto Network. That's always what it's supposed to be like. So I hope we can keep that to you and maybe even do it back to back sometime. But it's going to take more than just me doing shows because I got a toothache and a stomach thing, and I feel crappy. But we're going to move through that. We're going to have a great Friday. Yeah, probably no Bitcoin group, they're saying in the chat. Like, yeah, no, probably not. And not at the quality level that I would accept anyway. So, but we'll see. Maybe we'll do some more shows later today. Until next time, bye-bye.